Hello everyone and welcome to Team COG's channel. My name is Flexi and I'm once again having the great opportunity to present one of my deck profiles on this channel. Once again, Charles, thank you very much for having me. And the deck that I'm going to show you for September's version of the Members Monthly Deck Profiles is Pendulum Magicians. Now, Pendulum Magicians have been, or Pendulums in general, have been a big passion of mine, like for the past 6 months, maybe a little more. And especially the Magician version has been pushed on this most recent Banlist for the October 2021 format, which is very big news, and I can't wait to show you my personal deck profile for this. Now, 2 Joker, which is huge. It searches any Magician monster, also Perform Pal monster, and next Banlist we're most likely going to get 3 Joker back, so can't wait for that. Then I'm also playing 3 copies of Perform Pal Pendulum Sorcerer because he searches the Joker as follow-up for the next turn. He also searches the Celestial Magician, but most importantly, he is probably the easiest way to pop the Double Iris Magician, which we've also recently gotten 3 copies of. So that's why I like to play it as a tree. It's also searchable with Duelist Alliance. Then, as just mentioned, I play 3 Double Iris Magicians. It searches the Pendulum Graphs, which are a huge like control element of the Pendulum Magician strategy, which is very cool. It generates advantage on a regular basis. It can pop 1 or 2 cards per turn of the opponent, and it's also the best high scale magicians have, so that's very cool. Then as a search target for the Pendulum Sorcerer, but also just a cool like alternative normal summon for Pendulum monsters, or just an additional way to generate advantage, is the Sorcerer, or actually the Celestial Magician, sorry, which in the end phase, if you control him and another Pendulum monster, you activate his effect, and then in the end phase you can add a Pendulum monster to your hand, which is just cool and another way to search follow-up. And then there's 3 Oath Dragon Magician, which is the best low scale on the deck. It's a 2 scale, so you can Pendulum summon essentially any monster from your hand, or also from your extra deck. And if you control a Magician monster in the other scale, which you want to do anyways because of Tuning Magician, you can add back 1 Pendulum Magician monster from your extra deck to your hand. So Harmonizing, for example, which can only be summoned from the extra deck, which is also the next card I'm going to talk about, is you can normal summon it with an extender to go into Hulk place, climb into Appaloosa or whatever, then use Oath Dragon to add it back and Pendulum summon it out again. And also just once per turn you essentially go +1, which is very cool. And as I said, Harmonizing, you Pendulum summon her from the hand, you summon an additional Magician monster from your deck, huge. And then you also play 3 Wisdom Eye Magician, which can pop itself to turn itself into any Magician scale monster. So if you open Double Iris or Wisdom Eye, you essentially opened Oath Dragon Wisdom Eye, which is what you pretty much always want to have. And also opening 2 Wisdom Eyes is borderline broken because you can choose what scales you want to have. It cannot be Ash because it places the scales directly on the field. And also you have 2 monsters in your extra deck already, and not only monsters but Magician Pendulum monster level 4s at that, because rank 4s and Synchro 8s and Magician monsters are very important in this strategy. And then to top it off, I have 1 Purple Poison, which is kind of an additional low scale, but also a very good target for the Time Pendulum Graph, because even if you are not protected by Time Star Magician or Pendulum Call, Purple Poison Magician turns the Time Pendulum Graph into 2 pops. And also I play a Dragon Pit Magician, which is a level 7. It's also a high scale, but most importantly it's a level 7 because sometimes with Tuning Magician you want to go into a Savage Dragon, then you can summon it out with Harmonizing and go into Synchro plays. Now this is pretty much it for the Magicians. Then there's 3 Chronograph Sorcerer and 1 Time Gazer Magician. Time Gazer Magician is the sort of the brick here. Chronograph Sorcerer summons it out as an extender, but also since we're playing more cards, it can be popped now. So for example, Wisdom Eye pops itself, Double Iris can be popped, Pentasword pops cards. Then Chronograph Sorcerer can also trigger from hand to summon itself and potentially another monster. So if you have, like, in an ideal scenario, of course, Oath Dragon, Wisdom Eye, Harmonizing, and Chronograph, you use Wisdom Eye's effect to pop itself, place Double Iris in scale, and then summon Harmonizing and Chronograph onto the field without a normal summon, which is huge, right? So those are pretty much the use scale. Also, it's a high scale, but it's not a Magician monster, so you really don't want to keep this as a high scale. And then this is also a Magician monster, but not a Pendulum Magician monster. It's 3 Tuning Magician. It's the best needle fiber target for the deck. And it can also function as an extender if you have 2 Magician monsters in scales, because you can also special summon it from the hand then. So that's pretty dope, especially in combination with Joker, because it's you don't lose the tune a normal summon from Joker if you have the Tuning Magician as an extender. And then the last monster in the deck is Artifact Scythe, which is the Dagda Scythe combo is very easily achievable here. And we also play Needle Fiber with Wonder Magician, as you're gonna see in a second. We play Tornado Dragon, of course, so it's very easy to get into the Scythe lock with this combo. And now on to the spells, kind of being a little okay. So spell cards, we play 3 Pot of Desires. I don't really like Desires because you have to banish 10 cards and it's really annoying. I've had too many bad Desires in my life to actually like feel good playing it, but it's still very important. Generating advantage, especially when your hand is kind of wacky and you can't really get into any place, then Desires might save you the game sometimes. I play 3 Duelist Alliance because it searches almost half the deck. It searches the Pen Grabs, it searches Pen Call, it searches Pen Sork, it searches Double Iris Magician, which is treated as a Pendulum Dragon. And yeah, I also play 1 Pen Call. I don't want to play Pen Call because I want to make use of Double Iris Magician and Wisdom Eye Magician as much as I can, and Pen Claw conflicts with that. But in some hands, especially if you open Duelist Alliance and some other like bad stuff, then Pen Call can save you the hand. And in those hands, Wisdom Eye effect and stuff like that isn't really necessary anyway, so that's why I like to keep it at 1. But some people like to play it at 3 stones, so you can test it out for yourself. And then the final cards are the Star Pendulum Graph and the Time Pendulum Graph. This one searches you a Magician monster if a Magician monster leaves your field, and this one can pop a Magician monster on your side of the field to pop a card on your opponent's field. And if it doesn't destroy 2 cards, so for example if one of your cards is protected, then you can send another card on the field to the graveyard. Which essentially means if you're on the Pen Call, if you have a Time Star Magician on the field, or if you have any other way of protecting your scales, for example, then you can essentially get rid of 2 of your opponent's cards with this. Especially in a simplified game state where you only have access to like scales, 1 Pendulum summon per turn, and Time Pendulum Graph, this can be very powerful. Now onto the extra deck. The extra deck is fairly well balanced with I think 5 synchros for Xyz and the rest links. We play Dawn Drexer, which is very cool because it's easily accessible, especially with the Time Gazer Magician or also Tuning and the level 6s. But it has another use which I'm going to get to in a second. There's Borrowed Savage Dragon, which many people would like to make in an ideal situation where you have like an Appaloosa for 2, a Dagda with a Scythe, and then a Borrowed Savage Dragon, so your Dagda effect is protected. So you can't be stopped with like a Veiler or whatever, or an Imperm. And also Synchro 8s are very easily accessible. Then for the Needle Fiber target, we play TG Wonder Magician, which is going to pop in some situations where you're not going to be able to make a Tornado Dragon. You can pop your own Scythe with the Wonder Magician. And then also what I mentioned before, Wonder Magician is a level 5 tuner Synchro monster, and Dawn Drexer is a level 7 non-tuner Synchro monster, but if you negate something with Drexer, he goes down to a level 5, which makes you have 2 level 5 monsters that are both Synchro monsters, 1 tuner, 1 non-tuner, which allows you to summon Satellite Warrior. Now, Satellite Warrior can, when he's summoned, pop as many cards as you have Synchro monsters in the graveyard, and then he gains 1000 for each monster you destroyed. So essentially, once you do this, you get a spell negate, you get the Scythe lock, and then you get 2 pops with a 45,000 beat stick, 4,500 beat stick, which is very cool. But I think that after the Synchro Storm set that comes out in a couple of weeks, I'm going to substitute this for Baroness de Fleur or whatever it's called, because it's an Omni negate and it's also a pop on your turn, so arguably better than Satellite Warrior. And also it doesn't require you to have a Synchro non-tuner monster, which means that with the Scythe, which is also level 5, and the Wonder Magician, you can't go into Satellite Warrior, but you can go into Baroness de Fleur, so that's my thoughts on that. And then the last card is Ignister Prominence, which is a Synchro 8, which can shuffle back a card from your opponent by destroying 1 card you control, which is also very good and going along with the theme of the deck. And I'm not playing it, but you can play the Luster Pendulum, which can be special summoned from the deck with his effect. So yeah, he provides many uses for this deck. And that's it for the Synchros. For the Xyz, I'm playing 1 Time Star Magician. It's not coming into use as much as I would like, but it's still very useful because it can once per turn add a Pendulum Magician or a Dark Spellcaster monster. It's not even like Pendulum or Magicians. A Dark Spellcaster monster from your deck to your hand. It can also what's called protect your scales, so you can have a 2-pop Time Pendulum Graph, which is very cool. or just in general protect your scales from your opponent. Then there's Evil Swarm Nightmare, which is very easily makeable in this deck as well, and it's 2 Book of Moods essentially, which is very powerful. Then there's Tornado Dragon, which is mainly used for the Scythe combo, but sometimes you can also summon it early and then use its effect for popping Double Iris, which is cool. Then there's Abyss Dweller, which is the final rank 4, and Abyss Dweller is just, it's depending on the format of course, but sometimes Abyss Dweller just wins you the game, so I like to have it in the extra deck. And then coming to the Link monsters, there is Needle Fiber, which is essentially substitute Electromite until we get her back, but even after we get back Electromite, if we ever do, I don't think you should get rid of Needle Fiber, so it does way too much, and also with the Tuning Magician it's perfect. Then there's Dagda, which is supposed to set the Scythe from deck, so you get easy access to it and can pop it for the extra deck block on the opponent's turn. I play 2 Selene, because 1 Selene is definitely necessary to climb into Appaloosa sometimes, to be Nibiru protected before you combo off properly. And the second Selene is just as a follow-up on the next turn, so you can maybe climb into an Axis Code Hawker if you have, or just in general reborn a monster from the graveyard, have a Link 3 with the arrows for a perfect Pendulum summon, you name it. Then there's Appaloosa, which is mainly used for protecting from hand traps, but sometimes it can also be made with 3 materials, or maybe even 4, depending on the hand, and serve as an own like endboard piece, I want to say. And then the final card essentially is Borrelsword Dragon. I would like to play the rank 4, I forgot it, Supreme King Dragon Dark Rebellion or something like that, which is a rank 4 that is essentially a worse like a Borrelsword, but it's easier to make. That's why I would like to have that one, but I can't find my copy right now. Borrelsword is still cool because he's an easy OTK. And then once she gets back 1 copy of Heavy Metal Falls Electromite. I don't have to explain this card, especially because it's banned right now, but I just wanted to show it off. I love this card. I hope we get it back soon. Probably not though. Probably like in a year and a half or so, if at all. Let me check real quick. How long have we been recording? Yeah, we can do a quick test hand. So, just to show you guys how it works, or maybe not even testing, just more like explaining the combo. But it's the problem is really that the outcome of the combo kind of depends on what hand you're opening. It's not like there's a fixed 2-card combo like in Crusaders, but ideally you can make use of your entire hand. So let's see here. Okay, it's not been shuffled very well, I want to say. So in this case, I would activate double Wisdom Eye, activate Duelist Alliance to search a Star Pendulum Graph. Usually you could use this to search like a Double Iris, for example, but since we have the broken scales, we can do this as well. Activate it, then use one of the effects, it doesn't matter, to pop itself, activate this, then Star Pendulum Graph is going to trigger, adding us to the hand a Harmonizing. Then pop Wisdom Eye again to activate Double Iris. Then what you can do here is, since you have 2 Magician monsters in scale, you can special summon this, then normal summon and Double Iris to, this one's banished actually because you used the effect. Go into Helk. Then Huck's gonna summon another Tuning, and those go to the graveyard. You summon out, wrong deck, you summon out Selene. Selene is going to have 3 counters because you control 3 spell cards currently. You can summon back the Tuning Magician that you summoned off of Helk, and then go into an Appaloosa, which is now going to protect us from Nibiru, which is very dope. And then you can Pendulum summon all 3 monsters that are in your extra deck, as well as the Harmonizing, and then with Harmonizing's effect, you could technically summon a level 6 right now, but you can't use the, or a level 7 I want to say, but you can't use the Tuning Magician effect anymore, so it's kind of, you know, irrelevant. So what I'm going to do is summon another level 4. In this case, that's going to be, well, I think the only option I really have is, well, yeah, I'm going to summon a Celestial. Then I am going to use those 2 right here for a Dagda, then I'm going to use those. No, actually, I'm going to use those two right here for a Tornado Dragon. Then I'm going to use Tornado Dragon's effect to detaching, harmonizing, to pop the double iris, which is then also activating the Tornado Dragon effect is going to trigger a Dagda as a chain link 2, which is going to set Scythe from the deck directly. Where is it? There it is. Scythe. And then Double Iris Magician being popped is going to search us the Time Pendulum graph. And now you can set it. And is there anything else? Not really, that's pretty much it. Now you can, well, actually before doing that you should activate the Oath Dragon Magician effect to add back 1 just to generate additional advantage. It's a missed opportunity essentially. And what you could do now is I forgot to use the harmonizing effect, harmonizing for Dagda, because you could add back the harmonizing to have a stronger pendulum summon on the following turn. But you can also search a harmonizing with Star Pendulum Guard once you pop the card on your opponent's turn. So now you add back Wisdom Eye, then you do the Tornado Dragon, pop Double Iris, set Scythe, etc. Activate Wisdom Eye, pop it to activate and scale a third Double Iris. And now this is essentially what you're left with, which means that you have 2 monster negates. You have a Scythe lock by destroying Dagda with Tornado Dragon. You have the Time Pendulum graph. Your opponent can't use his extra deck, and then also you can either destroy Double Iris on the field, because it doesn't have to be a monster in the Pendulum scale, it just has to be a Magician Pendulum monster. You can either destroy the Double Iris on the field or in the scale, which is not going to do anything really. If you, like, yeah, it doesn't make, or I mean, I guess you could search another Star Pendulum graph, for example, or a Time Pendulum graph just to generate the additional advantage. But you could also just pop the monster and then Pendulum summon it out again, so you keep your scales for sure. But yeah, that's pretty much the very basic combo. If you didn't have to start with Tuning Magician, you could have summoned a level 7 instead, and then summoned back Tuning Magician with its own effect from the graveyard, go into a Savage Dragon, stuff like that. But one thing you have to keep in mind also is that, as you could have seen, like, I had a full back row right there with 2 scales, the Pendulum graphs, and the Scythe. So summoning a Savage Dragon wouldn't even make sense, right? And also, you could do that, I guess, but I don't really like clogging one of the Pendulum scales with any other, like, spell or trap cards, and in this case the Equip Link monster for Savage Dragon. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. If you know ahead of time that you're going to be able to set up this exact, like, back row, 2 scales, both pen graphs. Oh, the light is turned off. Let me provide additional lighting. Yeah, if you know that you're going to be able to set up this exact back row, then maybe think ahead of time whether you should summon the Savage Dragon. And if you know that you can't get access to the Time Graph, the Star Graph, or the Scythe, then you can definitely go for it. That has messed me up some games, so definitely keep that in mind. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. That was the combo, that's the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any comments to make about the deck list or the ratios or the combo, then definitely leave it in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, then leave a thumbs up as well. And other than that, guys, see you next time.